Hello internet, my name is Lave and this week I watched Logan. Now before I start my review, I've got to say that I was totally on board with this film ever since the first trailer with the Johnny Cash music. Not only is that a nod and gives me the perfect segue into the director of this film, James Mangold, who also directed the Johnny Cash biography Walk the Line, but he also directed the Wolverine and now he's having another stab at it. Stab. Not only that, but it sets up the tone of this movie perfectly, which is set in 2029 and finds Logan older, beaten up, his healing factor is waning. He's basically working as a limo driver to try and raise enough cash to look after a very old and sick Charles Xavier who's struggling to control his powers, which is hard enough in itself but is further complicated by the arrival of a little girl. I'm not going to say who she is, I don't want to give away any spoilers, even though I'm pretty sure most of you know who she is. She's being hunted down by some very scary people, so Logan and Xavier go on a road trip to try and get her to safety. Now technically this is a superhero film, but not really. It's really a Western road trip film which is exploring themes of aging and death and family, which makes it even more poignant by the fact that this is reportedly Hugh Jackman's last outing as Wolverine and apparently Patrick Stewart's last outing as Xavier as well, and for me that is the real selling point of this film. It's their characters and their relationship. It's wonderful. For me, that is where the emotional weight is coming from in this film, and Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman really can act. There were a couple of moments where I really had the feels. And then not far behind that is the emotional connection between Logan and this new girl, Laura, played by Daphne Keane, who is absolutely brilliant in this film. She makes Hit Girl look like a Disney princess, and considering she doesn't really say much, that is really saying something. Now there is more to the plot than I am letting on, but as I say, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the trailers did leave me asking a lot of questions, and it does answer it with regards to where all the other mutants are and why is Logan's healing factor fading. I will say that I was satisfied with certain aspects and not so sure on some others. That's all I'm going to say. I probably will do a spoiler talk video for this. The only other thing that I will say is that I was satisfied with the way that the film ends, although I do think that they could have done it a bit better. It was emotional, but not as emotional as other scenes in the film for me. And sticking with the negatives for now, and I do have a few, nothing major, but a few. There is a character that gets introduced which I wasn't crazy about. It didn't ruin the film by any means. It does have a couple of exciting action scenes as a result of this character, but certainly some of the CGI with this character did put me off a little. I did question whether that character was even needed at all, or maybe they could have explored other avenues. And there is a whole chunk of exposition which is given to you via mobile phone footage. I'm not necessarily saying I disagree with that, but the mobile phone footage is edited and narrated perfectly. That just didn't really make sense to me. And then you've got Stephen Merchant as Caliban. Now there were a couple of scenes with him where I thought it wasn't acted so well, but I think he does pull it back as the film progresses. But it is really weird to hear Logan said in a Bristolian accent. That was just quite funny to me. The only other negative things that I can think of at the moment is one action scene has a really odd piano riff in it. It's like really weird, and I do think that the film is too long. It clocks in at over 2 hours. I have been thinking about certain scenes which not necessarily could have been removed, but certainly trimmed down just to help with the pacing. But other than that, this is unquestionably the best representation of Logan we've got on the cinema screen. I pretty much loved it. If this is Hugh Jackman's last performance as Wolverine, then he's leaving it on a definite high note, and that brings me on to the violence. Oh my god. I have to admit, when this film first started and the BBFC film rating came up and said it was a 15, I was like, what? I thought this was supposed to be a hardcore, bloody, brutal Wolverine. And it is. I don't know how this is a 15. It should definitely be an 18. Honestly, people get decapitated, they get their limbs cut off. In that respect, this film absolutely delivered. There are at least 3, 4, 5 occasions which made me think, oh my god, I can't believe they did that. On top of the very well executed action scenes, you've got some beautiful Western style cinematography. Apart from the character that I mentioned earlier, the CGI is excellent, but it's not a CGI driven film. It is a character driven film, and I really liked it. So that's my thoughts on Logan, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. If this is Hugh Jackman's last outing as Wolverine, then it is a satisfying conclusion to his era as Logan. But what I find most interesting about this film is that it does have a Western feel to it, and as we all know, Western films sort of died out. And with all of the talk of superhero film fatigue at the moment, I do wonder if this is the start of it beginning to show in the actual films themselves. Or maybe I'm talking out of my arse because we've got 5 of them coming this year. So thanks very much for watching my review of Logan. I really do appreciate it. As I say, I'm probably going to do a spoiler talk video. It just depends when I get a chance to go and see it again. But in the meantime, thanks very much for watching. If you can, give this video a like, and don't forget to share the lave. I hurt myself today. Subscribe.